My high school student Sally began at IELTS band level 5.5, and later, after working with me, she achieved an IELTS test score of 7.0. You see, she had moved to the US from China in the last 3 years, and I had worked with her online to improve her English performance. Now she wanted to try again to achieve a higher score. But the problem was she had less time to practice her English than before. Do you have students who have the same challenges like Sally? Hi, I'm Marie Richards, an experienced online English teacher. For over 10 years, I've helped English learners worldwide improve their English for work, for study, and for their everyday lives. 14,000 online lessons. Now I'm sharing student success stories and the habits that help English learners reach their variety of goals. So subscribe, click the notification bell, and share with your friends. So this time around, how could I increase the frequency of her practice in between our lessons face-to-face? That is when I decided to give her the ChatGPT live prompt so she could focus on practicing in a relaxed way in between our lessons. The ChatGPT live prompt. That is, the activity was to use one question, one correction, one retry. But the reason I gave it to Sally to practice in between lessons was more important than just the prompt itself. It was to build the number of her practice repetitions in between our lessons. Here's the prompt now that you can copy. Act as my IELTS speaking practice partner. Ask me one question at a time and wait until I say finished before you respond. After I finish, check if I answered all parts of the question clearly enough, explained my ideas sufficiently, and used the correct verb tense. Give me just one main correction to focus on. Then ask me to answer the same question again. And you can also change the target from verb tense to idea development, precise vocabulary, or just follow-up questions. But I would not give every student this prompt on day one. Remember, Sally and I had been working previously for a long time for her to achieve band 7. And now she was facing another IELTS speaking exam, and I realized that she just did not have enough frequency of practice in her practice time. So this was getting her to increase her repetitions of practice. Now, I realize that AI cannot fully decide what a learner needs to do next in order to reach their goal. That is where a trained and caring teacher matters. The AI can give you lots of things to practice English with, like activities, games, books, pictures, news articles, real-life materials, or AI conversations through voice, and hundreds of speaking questions. So it can definitely help when a student says, I don't know what to practice. However, the teacher, through the prompt, should guide the AI as to the specific type of practice, questions, and activities to produce for the student based on what she needs to practice next. When Sally was at level 5.5, she needed more support from me. I needed to see what happened when she answered a question by herself. Did she answer every part of the question? Did her reason actually match her opinion? Could she tell a story in the past tense without switching tenses halfway through? And what happened when I asked her a follow-up question she was not expecting? Could she respond appropriately? That is why our practice followed a simple cycle. She tried, we noticed what happened, then I taught one important thing, and then she tried again. The next activity always changed based on what her performance showed us. Sometimes the improvement was not about using a more advanced word. It was something simpler, giving a full answer, telling a clearer story, adding an example to support a reason, or using one grammar pattern correctly even when the topic changed. After structured coaching and independent practice, Sally had reached a 7.0. That was a great result. But the bigger question is, what did she learn that she can use by herself the next time she prepares for IELTS? Sally now understands how the IELTS speaking test works. She has done full mock tests. She knows what a complete answer sounds like and recognizes the mistakes she usually makes. That is why ChatGPT Live is useful. It gives her extra practice with more unexpected questions and natural back and forth conversations between our coaching sessions. She's not just opening ChatGPT and typing, "improve my English." No. I choose one clear skill for her to work on. She practices it, and then we check whether she can still use that skill during a mock test in our live lesson. For example, if Sally tells me during our live face-to-face lesson that during her practice session in between our lessons, she got a lot of corrections around slipping from the past tense into the present tense, then I narrow the practice prompt. It could now be, give me one IELTS Part 2 topic about a past experience. Wait until I say finished. Check whether I covered every point, maintained past tense, and gave the story a clear beginning, middle, and ending. Give me only 3 corrections. Let me try the same topic again. Now, the second answer is more important than getting a long list of corrections. That is why Sally has to remember the feedback and use it when she's still speaking. I certainly would not depend on ChatGPT Live when a new student still needs a clear starting assessment or when they're working on many basic problems at the same time. At that stage, the student needs more structured support from the teacher, and I need to identify the biggest priorities, give clear and guided feedback, and check for dependable progress over time. So the goal is not to correct everything at once. It is to help the student improve one important area at a time. Once the student is making more consistent progress, they may benefit from practicing more often in between lessons. Then I give them 1 or 2 carefully chosen prompts that focus on specific areas where they still struggle. For example, if a student often gives incomplete answers or changes verb tenses during a past tense story, I can create prompts that help them practice those exact skills. ChatGPT Live is a practice space. It can support frequent practice, but it does not replace teacher diagnosis, guided feedback, or decisions about what the student needs to learn next. Before I choose an activity, I ask myself 3 simple questions. What problem is the student having right now? And how will this help? What does the student already understand that will make this activity helpful instead of confusing? And afterward, what will I check? Will I listen for something, count something, time something, read it, or compare their answers before and after? For Sally, the goal was more independent retrieval, using what she had learned without my help. It was the right time because she already understood the IELTS speaking test, the structures for each 3 parts. Then I looked for evidence in her first answer, her second attempt, and her next mock test. Sally does not finish a live practice conversation with ChatGPT and leave the evidence there. She is asked to bring back to the live lesson 1 difficult question, her first answer, her retry answer, 1 repeated grammar pattern, or 1 piece of feedback she did not understand. Perhaps the tense improved, but the story still lacks a turning point. Perhaps the answer sounds fluent, but does not actually answer the question. That evidence determines what we do next. So using ChatGPT Live, you can practice speaking about games, books, pictures, and other real objects. But the teacher has to be creative and smart. Always start with what this learner needs to communicate better next, not with whatever activity looks fun or easy to grab. Sally's first learning plan helped her reach a 7.0. Her next plan gives her more responsibility. While I still watch for problems, choose the right practice, and check whether her learning carries over into real speaking. The activity is not the curriculum. An activity only matters if it helps the learner make their next clear, visible improvement step. So think about one student you're teaching right now. What activity are you using with them? And what specific need made you choose that activity at this point? If you benefited in any way from this video, please click the like button, the notification bell, so you can be notified of the other videos in this series. And share this